How's it and welcome to Late Tackle. On today's show, we're going investigative and we're asking whether the inclusion of the Kings back into the Super Rugby franchise next year is going to weaken and possibly kill the strength of South African rugby. Now look, I'm going to give you two straight and hard like old Jean de Villiers on the crash ball. South African teams in this year's competition haven't really covered themselves in glory.
No, I mean, if we just look at the log for the evidence, first of all, Stormers are in third position, but that's just because they top our conference. They should actually be down in seventh. We've then got the Lions in second, basically, but our conference, but seventh overall. Bulls in eighth, Sharks somewhere else, even further down. So yeah, and now we've got the Kings coming in next year. We've got 5 teams this year, 6 next year. They're obviously going to go out soon and start recruiting players from other unions. What impact is that going to have on the strength of our sides? I don't know.
Look, going through the log is a bit like my Sunday morning when I go through texts that I've sent the night before. It's a bit of a horror show. However, I really do think that there's a misconception that we don't have enough rugby players. It's not how rugby works. There's no dearth of players in South Africa. There are a lot of countries and unions with far less players than we have in South Africa who play far better per capita. How rugby works, it's not always the best player gets to the top. It's about opportunities, about the right person liking you. What we're going to have now is a whole new union for young players, for players from perhaps disadvantaged areas, from different groups, to be seen, to have a chance to go and tackle someone huge like Maya Nonu and to build themselves. I mean, we look at the force. Dylan Lates, who was he? Oh yeah, he scored 2 tries for the Stormers this weekend. He went to Perth, he played for them, he got experience, and now he's thriving. So I think it could actually really, in the long term, benefit South African rugby. If we're going to talk about transformation in South Africa and actually take it seriously, we cannot ignore the Eastern Cape. That is where the grassroots rugby is going to come from. And we really need to start developing the rugby there. And that's how it works. You see your hero playing, he grew up with you. That's how rugby becomes more of a national sport.
Yeah, look, I agree with you that it's important that there is Super Rugby in the Eastern Cape for that reason, because there is so much interest in developing black talent. But if you look at the talented black players that come from that region, just give some examples like Siya Kolisi, Skaran Tabeni, Sabura Satoli. Those guys get picked up by the big unions early on. Just after they left school, they're out.
The reason why this could all change is that if you're a rock star at school, and I mean, there's great schoolboy rugby in the Eastern Cape, you're not going to be hanging around the PE harbour hoping that you can get an opportunity. You're going to go off to Durban or Joburg or Cape Town and you're going to go play, or Pretoria, you're going to play there. Now, finally, we have a feeder program so that guys can maybe go. We've got a great thing with NMMU there where it can keep them in the town.
Yeah, but how strong are the Kings right now? If you look at the EP Kings performance, they didn't even make the Vodacom Cup playoffs. Last year in the Currie Cup, they won 1 game. So right now, they've got 6 months until Super Rugby. They need to get the act together.
Yeah, look, there needs to be some changes there quite urgently. Hopefully the fact that they're going to now be traveling overseas and hosting foreign teams is going to be a bit of a motivation to up their game. However, let's look at the Lions fairy tale season they've had. 2 years ago, they weren't even in the Super Rugby conference. They have, I think, 6 Springbok caps between 2 players. So they really are a team of, I don't want to say unknowns, but they're no real thus far, rock stars, okay? But they've shown how you have a good coach, you have good belief, you have all the right ingredients, and you can really do something. So I think that could be a blueprint possibly for the Kings. And I hope, for one, I know you do as well, we all hope it comes true. However, because here at Rugby 365, we like to put our ear to the ground. We have a legit man, born and bred from the EC. He's also a journalist for Rugby 365. Andrew Duncan is going to give us his take on the Kings issue.
Look, it's a no-brainer that the Kings need to be in Super Rugby for 2016. You have to look at 2013 as a prime example. They had the 3rd highest crowd attendance in the whole of Super Rugby. That just shows people want to watch it. Players, Peterson, electric, got a crack at Super Rugby at age 18. He was awesome. Katrakilis, dumped by Western Province, told he'll only play Vodacom Cup, comes to the Kings, and now he's kicking the Stormers into Super Rugby playoffs in 2015. The Union, awesome trickle-down effect. The academy has been installed, retaining big signings and retaining young players, and it's also affected the varsity side.
Those are all great points, and I think we can all agree that we need Super Rugby in the Eastern Cape. But the Kings do have a lot of issues right now, don't they?
There are frustrations coming with that. There's poor communication from Cheeky Watson. There's no director of rugby giving no direction for the Kings, and there's no sponsor. Without a sponsor, there's no money. Without money, there's no signings. On a whole, I think Super Rugby needs to be in Eastern Province. It's a breeding ground for rugby, and gems will be unearthed.
It's only you.
All right, staying with the Kings, apparently Colin Spencer's their Currie Cup coach, but there's a bit of speculation about who's going to take over for Super Rugby next year, and the name Chester Williams has been thrown around, apparently. So we'll see what happens there.
Right, Mike, can you please run me through this incident between the Reds and the Sharks?
Yeah, but ball taken into contact there, and I suppose that's what they mean by ball and all tackle. Got the jersey involved. Pretty different to clear that, right?
I haven't seen a move like that used since I think the playground when I was about 12, and we used to try and hide the ball under there. Now it looks like most of my contemporaries have rugby balls, but it's just middle-aged fat. Right, well now we have one of my favorite sections of the show. It's highlights of the weekend. If you might remember from our last show, our friends up the hill haven't given us permission to use video footage from matches. So we are now going to reenact it. Although it's so realistic, I think most people from our last show didn't even know that it wasn't the actual televised game. Well, as you can clearly see, we're in the Suncorp Stadium. Sharks versus Reds, things getting very tight. But as you can see, on this side of the field are the Reds. You can see old Genya, the robot there. And there we have, oh, look at me, James O'Connor. I don't know why it's an English accent. But then we can see from the abundance of sea life that we have the Sharks on the right. We can see Steyn there, who's slightly larger than the average player. And then Lambie, of course, being protected for the World Cup, so he's not playing. He seems quite happy about that. And then Roger Good in the side. I don't know what he's doing in Brisbane, but he's got the shaker. Ay caramba. All right, so let's go into the game.
Right, Reds with the ball at the back of the rack, and we can see Genya getting it out. But here comes Stefan Ungra, clearly battling with a bit of an injury, lurking up. Ball goes back to O'Connor, who tries to make the clearance kick into touch. But oh no, it's a terrible kick. Straight to Ungra. All he has to do is pick it up over the try line, and there's a celebration.
Well, we always love your comments, and thank you for the feedback from the last episode. Nick French said, Oaks need to play rugby and not approach it as a business. Simple.
Well, that's interesting because rugby's been professional for 20 years. So I don't really know what he expects there, because if you don't approach it like a business, what are you doing?
I'm quite shocked by your anger to that one. Oof. All right, then Martin H said, Anton and Small D should swap hairstyles. I don't know if you're ready for the responsibility that comes with this do.
I'm not sure I'm up for this. I think.
Being mobbed by the ladies isn't as good as people say it is.
No,
so
I'm
just
right,
be aware once you have these
I think
locks
I'll be fine.
of.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, we love getting feedback from you guys. We love getting comments. So hit us up on Twitter, #LateTackle365. Obviously, the YouTube comments. Also, you can comment on the website. What we would love, if you have a video that you'd like to send us, whether it be your thoughts about something, whether it's footage from a game. As you know, we don't really have the rights to film there anymore. We would love anything under 30 seconds, load it up to YouTube and then send us the link and we'll put it on the show. I'm Anton Taylor.
I'm Michael de Vries.
This is Late Tackle.